I can touch health information at many points: intake, processing, analysis, storage, and sharing. In this module, we'll learn how to spot PHI, identify HIPAA-regulated roles, and decide when vendor obligations and business associate agreements apply. You've already built the core mapping toolkit. Identify the AI system, trace the data flow, and classify AI-specific risks. Now we'll apply that toolkit to HIPAA. The key questions are simple but critical. Does the AI touch PHI, and which organization is accountable? Before choosing controls, first decide whether HIPAA is in scope. That depends on three things working together: who is involved, whether the data is PHI, and whether the activity supports a regulated healthcare function. A hospital or vendor may trigger obligations, but AI alone does not. Making this decision early helps avoid wasted control mapping, missed business associate agreements, and compliance gaps before deployment. HIPAA directly regulates covered entities based on what they do, not simply what technology they use. The main groups are providers, health plans, and clearinghouses. Providers deliver care, payers manage coverage and payment, and clearinghouses translate or route healthcare transactions. In AI projects, these organizations usually own the clinical, payment, or operational purpose for using PHI. Even when an AI vendor performs the processing, the covered entity remains responsible for meeting HIPAA requirements. When PHI leaves a healthcare organization and flows into an AI tool, the vendor may become a business associate. This can include model hosting, clinical documentation, analytics, annotation, and cloud services. The test is not whether a human sees the data. It is whether the vendor receives, maintains, creates, or transmits PHI for the regulated organization. If so, HIPAA security rule duties and breach notification obligations travel with that data. To map an AI use case, start with the actor. Who is deploying or requesting the service? Then classify the data. Is it PHI, de-identified, a limited dataset, or outside health data entirely? Next, ask whether a covered entity is involved and whether the AI provider is acting on its behalf. Don't leave the answer in someone's memory. Capture the conclusion, assumptions, and open questions in a compliance mapping artifact for review. PHI is not limited to the chart or to obvious identifiers. In AI workflows, it can appear in images, clinical notes, voice recordings, chat transcripts, API payloads, metadata, embeddings, and logs. The key question is whether the information identifies or can be linked back to a person and their health. Transforming data does not automatically remove HIPAA obligations. Treat it as PHI unless it has been properly de-identified under safe harbor or expert determination. PHI can enter an AI tool long before anyone thinks of it as a disclosure. A copied note, uploaded lab report, or detailed prompt may include names, dates, diagnoses, provider details, or enough context to identify a patient. The safest habit is minimum necessary. Remove identifiers, generalize details, and use only approved tools. Strong workflows also add redaction, PHI detection, and user warnings before information leaves the clinical environment. The output matters too. Generated content can itself become PHI, such as a patient summary, discharge instruction, coding suggestion, risk score, or authorization narrative. That output may be sent to the wrong person, stored too long, or include hallucinated details that look clinical. Treat generated content like regulated health information. Limit access, route it carefully, require human review, define retention, and log who saw or used it. PHI also shows up in the operational exhaust of an AI system. API logs, prompt histories, debug traces, error payloads, monitoring tools, and analytics reports may copy identifiers, timestamps, session data, or even full prompts and outputs. Treat these systems as secondary PHI repositories. Minimize what gets logged, mask sensitive fields, restrict access, set short retention windows, and regularly audit who viewed or exported the data. AI pipelines create another checkpoint. AHA records, notes, images, claims, and patient messages can flow into pre-processing, fine-tuning sets, embeddings, vector databases, and evaluation files. Even an embedding may be PHI if it can be linked back to a patient or record. Treat each transformation as a governance decision. Minimize data, de-identify where possible, document lineage, restrict access, and define retention before model improvement begins. A business associate agreement is required when an AI vendor receives, creates, maintains, or transmits PHI on behalf of a covered entity or another business associate. It is more than a contract formality. It defines what the vendor may do with PHI, what safeguards are required, how subcontractors are controlled, and how incidents are reported. It should also cover audit support and return or destruction of PHI. Without it, disclosure risk rises quickly. AI vendors rarely operate alone. A service may rely on cloud hosting, model APIs, data labeling, analytics, or support tools. When any of those parties touches PHI, the obligation cannot stop with the first vendor. The business associate must flow HIPAA terms down in writing through BAAs or subcontractor agreements, permitted uses, safeguards, breach reporting, and return or destruction of data. The key control is transparency. Hidden subprocessors create hidden PHI risk. Effective vendor diligence turns HIPAA analysis into a reusable record, not a one-time checklist. For each AI workflow, capture what data is used, where PHI may appear, who touches it, and which HIPAA role applies. Then verify safeguards, retention, training restrictions, subcontractors, breach notice, and BAA terms. The value is evidence. Architecture diagrams, inventories, contracts, access records, and vendor security documents create an audit-ready trail that procurement, privacy, and security can all rely on. The key lesson is that HIPAA scope depends on who is involved, what data is used, why the service exists, and who handles it. From there, trace PHI across the AI lifecycle, lock down vendor obligations, and prepare to map safeguards, risks, and incident response.